super loyal, holding matrimony. Everybody loves a happy ending, that's an allegory. This is not a pipe dream, author of my own story.
I am here with a trailblazing British fashion designer known for transforming the world of bespoke tailoring. That's just one accolade. Redefined classic menswear with bold colors, innovative cuts, and a modern twist on Savile Row tradition. His name is Ozwald Boateng, but it's pronounced different.
Yeah, I mean,
from Ghana, right?
I'm from Ghana, and the correct pronunciation is Boateng. But
how did you go from Boateng to Boateng?
I mean, the American pronunciation of my name is very distinct. They like the Boateng.
Yeah,
and
we like to screw up everything.
Yeah,
That's what we do here.
And I remember when I dressed Will Smith when he was nominated for Ali, and he was walking down the red carpet wearing wearing what my pieces I had made for him. And the journalist sort of said, "What are you wearing?" He says, "I'm wearing this guy from England, Boateng." It kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And after that,
that's in the doc.
That's
yeah,
actually
yeah. That's good. You are an officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. For those Americans listening, which is most of this listening audience, explain what that is. Because I've seen you with the Queen of England.
Yeah, I mean, that means you've been honored. It means that it's viewed as you've contributed to British society. You've been recognized for doing something special.
Yeah, all joking aside, it's a pretty big deal to get, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think of my mum who came to London in the late 50s, early 60s, she probably wouldn't have imagined her son taking her to Buckingham Palace and getting honored by the Queen.
Yeah. So did you take her too?
I did. Yes.
Wow.
I took her because she was a big royal fan.
Yeah.
And so I had to take my mother.
So I have to ask. I've watched the documentary. I Am Man, right?
I Am Man? Or no?
No,
Iron Man. No. A man's story.
A man's story. Jesus,
yeah,
I'm
you can
crazy.
call me Iron Man if you
Iron
want.
Man. So no,
I just want to be. I just want to have all those gadgets. I want to have that suit where I can fly to outer space.
So I've watched the documentary, A Man's Story, and it shows you meeting the Queen. So what did you say? Like, what did you say to her? What did she say to you? If you don't mind me asking, if it's not too personal, if you didn't ask her out or anything.
No. Fun enough. Someone said to me when I would be in front of the Queen and get my honor that, I might get nervous or be overwhelmed. And I said, look, I've met the Queen on several occasions, and that won't happen. I'm sure I'll be fine. But lo and behold, when I was in front of the Queen, I did lose it a little bit. And she spoke to me, and I just couldn't hear her. And then she was kind of waiting for a response. And at the time, I just said, well, seeing I've been honored, I suppose I should come around and make you a suit. So it was quite funny. She laughed. And
did you ever get around to making her the suit?
No. I didn't get around.
What color would have you chosen for her?
I mean, look, the Queen's famous for her dress. She understands very much what colors work for her, and she had a very distinct style. So if I was going to make her something, I'd respect all the rules that followed. Maybe try to find a detail to make it a bit more modern, but in truth, there's no question about her, how she dressed and her styling. It was always kind of, whatever she wore was appropriate for the occasion and had a very strong point of view, very much the Queen's point of view.
So you talk about your mom a bit and bringing her to see the Queen, but what was her influence on you becoming a fashion designer, a tailor, all those things? And we can talk about your dad a bit. I know he had some sharp suits and inspired you a bit, but it was really your mom, maybe.
My mom always made clothes at home, and so I saw her with a machine sewing, and funny enough, I always said to myself, I'd never do that.
Why? Did you just too much hard work, or look boring,
because,
or what was it?
My dad was an academic, and he had this other vision for me, and kind of indoctrinated me with, with a whole nother thought process and ambition. So I kind of thought, in a weird way, being a seamstress or making clothes didn't have enough turbocharge for me, right? And that's the funny thing in life, the thing that you're subconsciously taught as a kid growing up ultimately ends up being what you end up doing with your life. And
but I kind of feel like you have a professor sort of style to how you approach things as a tailor, as a designer, as a creative person. It's measured also, but kind of crazy. If you watch the documentary, there's some crazy moments in there. You
totally
taking shots of vodka in Russia,
yes,
some of that stuff. But it feels like there is a process to what you do that feels like in an academic actually kind of process you have. So combine that. So let's talk about early on how you got into it, being one of the first Black designers on Savile Row. I think the first one, not even one of the first. The first one.
Definitely one first to put my name up on the store. Yeah.
And maybe describe what that was like. I mean, maybe now it seems like that it's a possibility, but probably back then.
No, I mean, look, it was definitely a unique position. I mean, the realities are, I went to the Savile Row in the 80s as a kid, and I met a famous tailor there called Tommy Nutter, who basically used to make clothes for the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. So it was actually more than a tailor, it was more of a designer. And I met him there, I was kind of looking in his shop window, and he came out and he saw me in my suits, and he sort of said, "Nice suit." I'm 18. I'm like, "Yeah, of course it's nice.
Yeah,
I made it." And he invited me and showed me the kind of the art of bespoke tailoring, everything made by hand. And then I sort of said to him, "But you're more than a tailor, you're a designer." And he said, No, I'm a tailor. And in that moment, I realized he had missed something. And I realized if I could combine the traditional art of tailoring and then fusing it with design, I could create something very unique. And when I mean design, fashion design. Because at this point, I was already selling collections to stores. And so I thought, actually, this is interesting. And if I could combine these two forms of art together, I could create something very unique. And also breathe new life into a dying street.
Yeah.
Which Savile Row is probably one of the most famous streets in Britain. It contains a huge amount of its history. And so if I could influence that, being me, I could have a big cultural influence, actually. Because I kind of understood in the just being there and being able to keep a traditional skill alive by bringing something new to it, and then being me could have a big influence on just culture as a whole. Because, in those days, the well-known people of color at that time were either athletes or musicians. They weren't designers.
Yeah. And was that the turning point? I mean, getting on Savile Row, getting your first store, was that the turning point? You're like, okay, I've made it, or that this is just the beginning for you?
No, I mean, obviously, opening a store on the Row in the early 90s was an achievement. The truth of it is, once you're in the seat moving, you very rarely stop. You just keep going. It's interesting, when I closed my first store to move into my biggest store that I'm in today, it was only then that I realized, oh my God, I actually opened that store that I always dreamt about. And that was quite interesting. That was probably 12 years in. Then I went, oh. And then just to make it even funnier, when I met Tommy Nutter, when I was
the name is amazing. Tommy Nutter,
great name.
It's a Nutter.
When I was 18, and he took me to his store. When I came out of his store, I looked across the road at the corner, and those days, Anderson Shepherd used to have a store on the corner there. And for a moment, I saw my name up above the store, and I'm 18, and I'm thinking it's like a vision, let's say, right? And at the time, I thought, I mean, I've now decided I'm going to open a store here, but it can't be there because, I mean, they've been around for centuries. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It kind of brushed it aside. So cut to, I'm closing my old store, moving to the new store, and I'm kind of where Tommy Nutter's store used to be. And I'm looking across the road, and I realize, actually, it happened. Because that's the store I'm in today.
Yeah. Well, that's a while. I mean,
yeah.
I bet you think about it and say, like, how the hell did that happen?
Well, I
and
mean,
then now you're like, you've done everything from, you know, being the head creative of Givenchy to your own multiple collections, incredible, you know, catwalk shows, and like designing clothes for the, you know, for Black Panther. I mean, what's the thing that stands out the most for you? Is like, after being in this business 40 years, and we could talk about that in a second, like, what's the big highlight for you? What's your favorite part of what you do?
I mean,
who are the favorite people you've dressed?
I mean, I think, I mean, that's the thing about when you do something for a period of time. The good news is I still feel I've got a lot to say with my creativity. So I think as long as I've got something to say, then I'm always going to be inspired. And there's always going to be that drive. And in terms of what stuck out over the decades, I mean, there's so much that stuck out. I mean, my creativity has always been based on how I feel at any given moment. You know, I did a huge fashion show when I closed Savile Row. And it was the first time it'd been closed since the Beatles had done a gig there. And I did a huge show there. It's quite funny. I remember, because obviously if you close a street down, and Savile Row is kind of a connecting street between Regent Street and Bond Street. If you know London, it's if you close it, it's quite, you create a nightmare in the kind of the center of town. And
so it means you're a big deal, but you're also a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is the truth of it is I made the decision probably 4 weeks before I did it. So I kind of decided that I was going to happen. I got in touch with a production company. I said, you know, what's it going to take to do this? And then I had to talk to everyone on the street, basically get people's permission. And so I went to everyone and said, look, I'm going to do this party.
Yeah.
I'm inviting everyone, drinks on me kind of thing. And it said I was going to close the street. And I think no one actually believed I was going to actually do it before. Is he actually joking? And I partly made it feel like I was joking. So, you know, so no one would really complain that I was actually going to do
exactly.
it. And then I had to get in touch with the police because, you know, they have to manage the security. Sorry. And so, I think it was like the 5th of May or I remember it was in May, first week in May, 2002, I believe. And it was the Queen's Jubilee. That's right. And so anyway, I did this big show, and invited all my clients. It was a fantastic turnout, and we basically closed the street for a whole day.
Did you feel back then? I mean, that was what, 20 odd years ago. Like there was a bit of a fearless quality to you, and as you get older. I know we're similar ages. I'm, I think, a little older. But do you feel like you still have that same level of fearlessness? Do you sometimes feel like, okay, I've got now 2 more kids. I've got two more kids. I can't be the crazy Ozwald that you see in the documentary for sure. But like, I think there is something where it's like, we're always like, and I was working on some writing where we're talking about pushing yourself out of a comfort zone, you know, and like you sit there and like, and I'm constantly trying to do that. And and people always ask me to do stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. But when I do it, I'm like, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So like, do you feel that is a big part of your creative process?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to challenge timings, opportunities, because I've had enough experience now to know that once I give in to the creative process or an idea, I always know that there'll be an element of magic that will just happen. So that confidence allows something to just happen, right? I kind of visualize, right, this is going to, how I'd like it to happen, but I don't force the outcome. And so as a consequence,
Even when there's not a deadline. I mean, you've seen anybody who's watched any documentaries about fashion or been involved in fashion, like that deadline when there's a show, that deadline doesn't move.
No.
No.
No. So the timings are the timings. You can't get around that. And so, you work to the timings, of course. You got to deliver something.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I don't show what I don't believe in.
Yeah.
So I self-edit. And then once, whatever I have, whatever that may be, if it's 100 pieces or 20 pieces, I mean, that's what I'll show.
Yeah.
And so, and then I'll make my statement from that. What I'm saying is I trust for the magic. I mean, the last show that I did at the Savoy Theatre in London, I'm dear friends with Idris Elba, and he kind of closed out the show.
Great DJ, also.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
DJ.
good DJ, man. And
I said great, Idris. If you listen to this, your friend said good. I said great.
Yeah, and he closed the show, and I thought I knew he'll bring the magic,
Yeah.
right? And he did, and it was a challenging moment actually because someone we both knew had passed away, and so there was quite an emotional aspect, and then but there was an opportunity for us to also celebrate him.
Maybe not as interesting to people, but it's interesting to me about the tailoring part. I'm crazy about tailoring, and everybody you dress always looks perfectly tailored at the very least. Maybe the pattern might, whatever it might be, but like that's never a mistake.
No. But that's because if you expect the rules of tailoring, and there's so much you can do. There's a lot of freedom once the rules are respected. There's like use of color. If you tailor the suit in a what I call like expecting all the aesthetic balances, right? You kind of gentrify the use of the color. It becomes something else.
Yeah. I mean, you've talked about Idris, but there's been countless people that you've dressed and collaborated with.
Yes.
What is that like? I think for a lot of people listening, you don't really know what that process is, that creative process of like, okay, you've got an idea for dressing someone. You want to make it mean something to them. What is that like? And, give us a couple people you've done where there's some really challenging moments that ended up like being a memorable one for you also.
I mean, I remember dressing Daniel Day-Lewis when he was nominated for Cannes in New York. And I dressed him for like the BAFTA, the Berlin Film Festival. All of them actually. And he won all the awards. But he didn't win the Oscar at that time actually. He got Aidan Brody actually being with the pianist. And it was quite funny because I ended up going out that night and I ran into Aidan Brody at this party, and he was carrying the Oscar. And I remember just saying to him, God, you must be so proud. I mean, but you are a brilliant actor. I saw the film and you're amazing.
How was his fit?
How was it?
His fit that night,
Oh, what was?
Yeah, you were looking at him and like.
Actually, the truth is, I I kind of vaguely remember what he's wearing.
I'm sure it's
But
not
the
black
reason
tie.
why I'm talking about him is because I was with him last week, and he's done this amazing movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's incredible, The Brutalist.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm planning to see that first opportunity I get.
But like a Daniel Day-Lewis, like, what is that experience like? Are you collaborating with him, or you're getting, or is it?
No, it's a collaborative. I mean, but again, most of these artists, when they come to you, they kind of, we discuss what they want, but they trust what you.
Yeah, interesting. Because we collaborate all the time with different artists and different musicians sometimes, and different actors and different, creative people, and it's different every time.
Yeah.
So it's probably a similar process. Some people are amazing to work with. Some people give you a lot. Some people say, I don't care, just tell me what to do. Or
Yeah. I mean, no, this part of the process is really about understanding the person.
Yeah.
And I pride myself in being able to understand that, good instinct, good feeling, because it's always going to be about the communication.
Well, let's talk a little bit about philanthropy and what you did in Africa in 2012, and it's in the documentary. I mean, obviously, it's your background, your family, your history, but it takes a lot to do what you did. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that? And like, you brought together some incredible people.
Yeah. So,
and I don't think people know enough about Africa and the creativity that is in Africa.
Yeah. So I did this huge event in 2007, I believe, 8, where I was able to get 50 African presence in one space. And the whole idea was to promote collaboration and what Africa could look like if these leaders worked together. And I've always felt very strongly about African American culture, actually, and its influence and impact it could have on Africa. And so I did a series of events here in the U.S. where I kind of put a group of well-known individuals, Jamie Foxx, Chris Tucker. I spoke
Mos
to
Def, right?
Yeah, Mos Def, of course, but even Sidney Poitier I spoke to everyone.
Yeah.
And it was very much about this bridge. I mean, Quincy Jones has been in that space, or was in that space for years in the world of collaboration between Africa and the U.S. So I wanted to, with this event, first celebrate and then open the dialogue. And so that's what that was in 2007. And it's become very much a part of me, actually. I even set up a foundation, that basically is all about development, African development, infrastructure development. I work with the African Development Bank. They set up a Africa 50 fund that I basically helped champion and set up. And so, yeah, I'm very much about how do we move Africa forward and also change the dialogue around the continent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions of what it means. And the good news is you have this birth of Afrobeats right now, and they're born off the streets of Africa. And yet it's got a global footprint.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be much more of that. So it's not just the natural resources of Africa. There's a creative capital that means a lot. And I think it's starting to get its voice.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And hopefully there's more of it too.
Yeah.
The Met Gala is coming up.
Yep.
And you've got some big things planned. Why don't you tell the audience about it too? Because
I mean, the theme for the Met Gala, is tailoring Black style. So I thought, well, a theme like this, I suppose I have to.
I mean, this is basically the Met Gala Ozwald Boateng.
So I thought I
year.
had to, yeah, absolutely. So I thought, I should get involved, and so I'm planning to dress some people for that event and create a pop-up experience just prior to that. and also use it as a way to punctuate my career at this point. And so I think it's very interesting timing, and I'm very excited about it, actually.
Now, you have 40 years of dressing great people, but it's also like, how do you think your style has evolved, not just color and pattern, but just like your style from young 19, 18-year-old Ozwald to distinguished, still hot Ozwald.
No,
but,
I think the thing is there's a couple of things about, my work. Like I said, I always base my creativity on how I feel. So my feelings are always changing and evolving. Yeah. I think if you look at what I did 40 years ago to now, you'll see a bridge. The shoulder line was maybe a lot wider, which is back in fashion now.
Yeah.
But you can see an absolute link. What I understood very early on in my career is having a very distinct style as a creator is more important than the fashion component. The fashion component is something you've got to acknowledge and respect because it's trends. So it's nice to take pieces of that into your work. But really, if you're a true creator, you've got to be true to what you're about. So you have your distinct identity.
And what would you say if you had to whittle it down, that is the style today?
Oh, the style of today?
Yeah, for you. What is like?
I mean, my style.
What's the Boateng brand?
I know. Look, I think
because you can see it on the web. If you go and you can see the clothes, everybody knows the clothes. But like, what do you think the style is? If you had to articulate it,
I don't know. I mean, it's. I would say it's an amplification of the wearer. I would say it's when the clothes I create do that, that's what I create for.
I love that. The amplification of the wearer.
Yeah.
It's a great answer. Yeah. We're going to do the rapid fire. This is how we like to end. Who are you wearing right now?
Oh, yeah, I'm wearing that really interesting designer from Savile Row. That guy, Ozwald Boateng. I'm wearing one of his pieces. It's basically a sort of emerald green kind of
spectacular.
Dark.
For those who can't see or just listening, you were missing out on a truly spectacular suit. Ozwald walked into the studio and I was like, oh shit, I'm completely underdressed. Second question for you. How are you doing?
Oh, that's a good question. How am I?
That's Brandon Marshall, the football player and great activist and great entrepreneur and TV host and all those things. That's I learned that question from him.
How am I doing? Well, actually, I'm good. I've got two older kids.
Yeah.
So I've got the 24, 21. Now I have a 2-year-old and a 10-month-old.
Oh my God.
So the question is, how am I doing?
No, the question is why.
I have to be super fit. I am excited. I'm excited about my little ones every time I go home. And everyone knows when you have kids, it shifts your priorities, right? And so,
but that's a long time in between. 20 odd years in between sets of kids.
Yeah. So it's definitely done that to me. It's definitely sharpened my kind of outlook. That's for sure.
In what way, when you say sharpen your outlook?
Well, we kind of go on thinking we're going to, live forever.
Yeah.
And when you have little ones, it just makes you think about all those things that probably you didn't think about before.
Does Ozwald Boateng, American pronunciation, change diapers? I mean, that's what the world really wants to know.
I change diapers.
Terrible.
I'm changing a lot of diapers, let me tell you. Probably changed more this time around than I did the first time around. But I change a lot. I'm actually got a good technique.
Last song you listened to?
Well, listen, I'm in kids' world right now, right?
Yeah.
So there's a constant track. I think it's what's that? Hang on. I'm just suddenly gone blank. That.
The Barney? I don't know.
No.
I'm going to pull out
the Ice
Baby.
No. The princess.
Rose Frozen.
Rose Frozen. There you go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go. There you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah, Jesus. Let
God,
it
I'm
go.
amazed.
Yeah,
I'm amazed that
Listen,
you know that. You're
You
not
know
even.
what?
You're not even on baby duty. You know this.
No, I got.
That's it.
nieces
That
and
track
nephews.
is what I hear 1,000 times a day. As much as I try to get my daughter to start listening to Afro beats and
Yeah. Maybe you should
and
do
get,
like a.
you know, get
I
that
think you should do
shing
like
in there. She hits back with Frozen.
Why don't you do like a Frozen Afrobeats mashup?
I'm gonna work
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
like now.
Yeah,
In
it's
fact,
a good. It's not a bad idea.
I need to break the track up. Let's do a Frozen Afrobeat. Yeah,
We'll help you.
I'm just listening to a lot of kids stuff.
Mark
right now.
Reed also likes Frozen. Mark
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's,
Well, we should.
Mark Reed, commander, CBE, commander of British Empire.
I'm
so,
a little. I mean,
You're OBE.
He's got an edge there.
Yeah. He's
But he's only one step away from the knighthood.
Yes, he is.
Let's just get all in.
This is a 3-parter. 3 items on your bucket list. This always stumps people.
3 things on my bucket list.
Yeah, that you want to do before you
croak.
No,
Okay.
you said it. I mean,
All right, sorry. 3 things on the bucket list. Let me think. My gosh. I mean, I wouldn't mind going to space. Going one of those tickets. Which one? Amazon.
Would you,
Long,
if you had to choose to go to space?
Who's got the rocket that
would you
gonna
go
safely get me there and back?
Now,
So
if safety was not a issue, right?
Hmm.
Say everybody's got a safe spacecraft. Who would you choose to go to space with? Just 2 of you into space, Elon Musk or Richard Branson?
Oh, it's going to be Richard. But hang on, Richard in his heyday, right? So no, Richard definitely because Richard is he's a mate, right? So I've made clothes for him. So
I mean,
yeah.
coolest guy ever.
Yeah, I mean I've met Elon, eccentric cat. Yeah,
That's a whole nother podcast.
yeah.
I like it.
So I'd like to go to space.
Yeah,
I mean,
space.
would be
That's one. One. You've had time to now think of your other 2 bucket lists.
I went to bucket list. What else?
Space is good. No one said that before. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
Ooh.
You might get a pass. You don't even have to do the other 2 because space is.
Because I
Space
think
is a winner.
2 on the bucket list. I mean, I have to do. The fortunate thing is I get an opportunity to do a lot of
stuff,
things.
yeah.
And so it's not as straightforward as to think. I mean, I don't have to.
Space is good. Space is good.
I mean, space is not a bad one, right?
So if you weren't doing this, if you weren't Ozwald Boateng, master tailor, master designer, cultural icon, what would you be doing?
I'd definitely be making movies. Yeah.
Like as a filmmaker, director, writer,
Directing,
starring. I mean, House of Boateng, for those of us of a certain age, was a pretty dope show.
No,
Yeah.
I think
Reality show in the 2000s. What was it?
2006. Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen it, look for some episodes. It's pretty good.
No, I think more directing. Maybe if I directed in my kind of youth, maybe I might have had a little.
Well, there's a lot of brands out there.
Getting in front of camera, but I think mainly behind.
There's a lot
Because I love the process of casting, finding the right talent, finding the right ingredients, the mix between
casting
talent,
is super hard.
and then also the cinematography because I'm very visual.
Yeah.
Styling and then I love great dialogue. I'm a big dialogue man. I like old school films where the dialogues are just Casablanca or Maltese Falcon with those sharp lines.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So I like.
That's
great
cool. Good
dialogue.
for brands to know that you'll collaborate with brands on not just style part of it, but also like storytelling.
Oh yeah.
And visual storytelling.
Yeah.
Beyond dialogue.
No, I've been making short films for almost. I mean, it's got to be 30 years now. So I've directed a lot of shorts and. So
well, we'll put some visuals to this podcast too. If you've got some stuff you can put. We'll show it. Yeah, it'll
sure.
be good.
Why not?
All right, last question because we got to get out of here. One piece of advice you'd give to your teenage self.
Wow.
I'm deep here. We're deep in
No,
these
I mean,
questions.
actually, probably advice would be it's all going to work out.
Yeah, I think young people are under a tremendous amount of stress these days. I don't remember having this much stress as a young person.
Exactly.
I just remember it being fun and wanting to do stuff. But I do think that's a great piece of advice. Like, it will all work out in the end. You know?
It always does. And the thing is what your greatest fear is. I mean, I think my dad told me that is, he said a problem is only a problem if you make it a problem. And then the solution to every problem, the solution is in the problem. Yeah.
I mean, I want to understand that. What do you mean the solution is in the problem?
Yeah. So the problem itself, so it's like, you know, you get a problem and you think, how am I going to sort it out? The answer usually is in the problem itself.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I buy that. I mean, if you watch the doc, which I encourage you all to watch it, it's so damn good. There's problem after problem that you might have raised your voice once in a while.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, definitely.
It was awesome.
I mean, that's the classic, right?
Yeah.
The documentary kind of demonstrates everything I just said.
Well, you've done a lot since then, and you're going to do a lot more, and we're psyched you were able to come by the studio and do this for us, and hopefully we can do some more things with stuff you're doing with the Met Gala, and then with brands going forward. Because,
absolutely. I mean, that I have to say that'd be great, Rob.
Yeah. All right.
For us to kind of cook together.
I like that. I'm going to steal that. We're cooking here at Screaming Creativity. That's it. We're done. Boateng out.
Married to the game, I'm super loyal, holding matrimony. Everybody loves a happy ending, that's an allegory. This is not a pipe dream, author of my own story. La-di-da-di-da, take my time.